Here's something most people never stop to think about being really intelligent. Most people believe it makes life simpler, and in some ways, it does. But here's the bit nobody speaks about. For a lot of very clever people, the exact thing that gives them an edge in thinking also generates a peculiar kind of silent pain that most people around them never fully comprehend. Today we're going to discuss something that cognitive psychologists have been studying for decades: the hidden psychological challenges that come specifically with great intellect. Not as a complaint and not as a badge of honor, simply as a true, honest look at what it truly feels like to having a mind that functions differently. Struggle 1. The plague of overthinking. Here's something fascinating. You may not realize the same neurological pathways that allow a highly brilliant individual to analyze a complicated topic thoroughly are the exact same pathways that keep them up at 2 a.m. reliving a discussion from 3 days ago. Research in cognitive neuroscience reveals that persons with higher intellectual ability tend to have more active default mode networks, the portion of the brain responsible for self-reflection and mental simulation. In basic words, their minds don't switch off easily. What appears like overthinking from the outside is actually a mind that is constantly running simulations, questioning assumptions, and seeking for patterns even when there's nothing left to solve. Struggle 2. Trouble finding people who actually understand them. This one is subtle, but it runs deep. Highly intelligent individuals frequently find social connection genuinely challenging, not because they lack empathy or social skills, but because meaningful discourse is rare for them. When your mind naturally operates at a level where you're curious about awareness, systemic patterns, or why people act the way they do, small chat may seem nearly painful. Psychologist Leda Hollingworth, one of the first experts on giftedness, noted that genuinely intelligent individuals frequently suffer with what she called the difficulty of communication, the gap between what they believe and what most discussions enable them to explore. The consequence? A subtle but persistent loneliness even in a room full of people. Struggle 3. The paradox of great hopes and self-doubt. Consider this for a minute. Many high IQ persons are simultaneously their own harshest critics and their own strongest sources of pressure. Psychologists call this imposter syndrome, but for intelligent people it frequently goes deeper because they can see every hole in their own thinking, every gap in their knowledge, every potential way they may be incorrect. They may distrust themselves more than persons with less self-awareness do. Intelligence, ironically, may make you more aware of what you don't know, and that understanding, although intellectually honest, can gradually corrode confidence. Struggle 4. Ennui, but not ordinary boredom. Here's when it gets psychologically fascinating. Research shows that highly brilliant people require substantially more cognitive stimulation to be engaged. When that stimulation isn't present, kids don't just feel bored, they feel nearly restless at a neurological level. Studies on dopamine sensitivity imply that intelligent persons may have reward systems that react less to routine stimulation, meaning regular tasks, repetitive surroundings, or unchallenging labor might seem genuinely draining rather than merely boring. This is why many bright individuals suffer in conventional institutions, school, corporate jobs, strict routines, not because they're lazy, but because their brains are genuinely seeking a level of engagement that traditional surroundings don't provide. And here's something worth pausing on for a bit. Does any of this ring familiar to you? Because the patterns we're discussing aren't just abstract notions. They show up quietly in ordinary life, in the way someone avoids particular discussions or feels oddly distant even among friends, or lays awake at night for no clear reason. Struggle 5. Perfectionism that seems hard to escape. Highly intelligent persons frequently set internal expectations for themselves that are actually unachievable, not because they're arrogant, but because their minds can easily envision the ideal outcome, and when reality inevitably falls short of that goal, the emotional distance might seem tremendous. Psychologists characterize this as the planning fallacy meets high self-efficacy. The brain is smart enough to envision something wonderful, but execution in the real world always involves friction, constraint, and imperfection. For bright people, accepting good enough may be a genuine psychological difficulty. Struggle 6. Sensitivity to unfairness and inconsistency. Many highly intelligent individuals perceive hypocrisy, logical inconsistencies, and social injustices with almost unbearable clarity. What others might miss or justify, an intelligent mind often can't unsee. This heightened pattern detection, which is a cognitive strength, may make the world feel irritating, even tiring. Research in moral psychology suggests that those with higher reasoning capacity tend to feel stronger emotional responses to perceived unfairness, precisely because they understand its consequences more profoundly. Struggle 7. Trouble making decisions. This could be the most surprising one, since you'd think that being clever makes decision-making easier, but intelligence frequently accomplishes the opposite. It multiplies the variables. A highly intelligent individual may envision too many outcomes, too many consequences, too many ways a choice might go wrong. Behavioral economists have a word for this: analysis paralysis. The more clearly you can think through a problem, the more possibilities your brain generates, and the tougher it gets to simply choose one course and commit. Struggle 8. A deep, continuous seek for meaning. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, argued that the primary human goal is not pleasure or power, it's meaning. And for highly intelligent individuals, this quest tends to be extremely intense. Routine life, surface-level achievement, or conventional definitions of happiness sometimes feel hollow. Intelligent folks tend to ask why at a level that most social frameworks don't readily explain. This can lead to true existential restlessness, a sensation that something important is constantly just slightly out of reach. Struggle 9. The loneliness of being misunderstood. Not dramatic loneliness, calm loneliness. The kind where you're perfectly capable of functioning socially, holding conversations, even making others laugh, but you secretly carry ideas and questions that seldom get to escape your own brain. Psychologists studying intellectual giftedness consistently find that this inner seclusion is one of the most frequently reported experiences among extremely brilliant persons. It's not about superiority, it's just about the truth that when your mind works differently, obtaining genuine understanding from others requires real effort. Here's the psychological takeaway from all of this. Intelligence is not a simple advantage, it is a particular manner of perceiving the world, one that comes with true gifts and genuine expenses. The same mind that can solve complicated problems is also the mind that can't stop analyzing, can't easily relax, and can't always find the conversation it's looking for. Understanding this doesn't make the struggles vanish, but it does something quietly profound. It turns confusion into clarity. And for a mind that is constantly seeking for patterns, sometimes the most relevant pattern to find is the one that eventually explains your own experience. And maybe that's enough to finally see yourself clearly, not as too much, nor as too little, but as just the type of intelligence this world has always needed.